Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight, whenever you happen to be seeing this, I would like to offer the elemental energy reading for the month of October 2025 for the elemental energy of Earth. Earth covers the zodiac signs of Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. If you're interested as to why I read for the elements versus the zodiac, there's a video down below you can check out. There's also a link to a natal chart. It's not sponsored or anything like that, but it gives you your base 12 houses and 10 to 20 pages of what all those signs and symbols mean. And the fun part with this particular one is there's a little section there on your elemental alignment and what exactly all of that stands for. So with that, we'll get started with our reading. And Earth, we started with your I-ching hexagram, which I cast before the video, and you have number 47, which is the I-ching, the hexagram of adversity and weariness. Sounds pleasant. So, adversity leading to success thanks to persistence in a righteous course, good fortune for the truly great, and freedom from error. Though words be spoken, they will not inspire confidence. So the general theme for this particular hexagram is saying it's not the words that you're going to get any help from. It is how people around you act. Excuse me. And it has less to do with you're going to have to deal with some stuff, that adversity, challenges, and obstacles, so that you can actually have the success that you're aiming for. And the energy I'm getting right now, Earth, is that you've been on a pretty good path. Things have been going pretty good for you. This is saying this is a little bit of a time to test your mettle, to check your resolve. But as it says here, as I turn the page, it's too early. Persistence in a righteous course, good fortune for the truly great. It's saying stay true to your morals and your ethics. The righteous path, the righteous course, righteous persistence, all when they talk about it in this aspect, it's not talking about a religious thing by any means. What it's really saying is your code of conduct, your morals, the ethics that you practice and live by. So this is how you progress forward. So you will succeed as long as you're sticking true to those. And when it says to become truly great, that's saying that's that superior man, that superior woman, the person who has learned to manage their ego and keep it in check, the person who's acknowledged their shadow and is integrating those lessons back in. It's the type of person who's connecting into their higher self. So even though it starts off a little bit threatening or not pleasant, Earth, you really are looking at a fairly positive month. It's going to be some struggle though. So our foundation line is, with dried branches entangling the lower part of his body, he enters the gloomy valley. For 3 years he encounters no one. So pay attention to numbers of 3 when it comes to things that are a pain in the rear end or struggles or frustrations, because it's going to be in sets of that. They're saying 3 years. This is a 1 month reading, so hopefully it's not that long. But what it's really talking about is it's stuff that's going to trip you up. It's minor inconveniences. It's wrapped around the lower part of the body. If you've ever been out hiking in the woods and you go trucking off through the brambles, even thick grass, it will just feel like you're always trying to fall down. Something's grabbing. It feels like you're tripping. There's something caught your foot. That's the energy of this. So at the beginning of the month, it's saying there may feel like there's this struggle, like you can't get your feet clear, you can't seem to move forward. And what I'm getting with this is it's more of, are you really sure you want to do this? Is this really the path that you want to take? It's not saying it's wrong, it's testing you, making sure you have the resolve to keep going. And this is where you can tap into that capital W, the divine will aspect, that higher self aspect, because you might notice how things magically clear up when you really stay tapped in and connected to God's source divine. So our second line, difficulties arise through indulgence of food and drink. A vermilion sash wearer, which is a man of very high rank, appears. It is advisable to utilize this opportunity to offer sacrifice. Advance brings misfortune, though no error is involved. So even though you're dealing with all of these hiccups and issues, they're really saying don't fall victim to vice. I've had a really rough day. I just have to have a drink. I just have to fill in the blank. I just have to have half of a chocolate cake, because that's happened before. And what they're saying is this is not the time for that kind of indulgence. Stay in that more disciplined state. And it's a vermilion sash wearer. So this is someone who is of higher rank. So if this is a work situation you're dealing with, it could be a regional manager, it could be the owner of the company, something along those lines, like a big person. And it's advisable to utilize this opportunity to offer sacrifice. This is when you get to make your case and show what you've been able to accomplish. So there is a little bit of an opportunity here for possible promotion, or at least putting your application in for the promotion, or putting your application in for that transfer, or whatever it is. They're saying that this is actually a good time for that, because the big people are paying attention. They're not really saying much about a personal life in this aspect, so I wouldn't put a lot of effort there, but the emphasis I'm hearing is about business at this point. Advancing brings misfortune, no error is involved, so you don't want to push forward. This is you're offering things, and then you're going to let the chips fall where they lie. You can push forward. It's not going to be the easiest. You might have to go through even more of a pain later, and that's where like you're going to be pushy about the promotion. I've earned this. See what all these things I've accomplished? Yeah, they're going to also push you back a little bit and be like, okay, let's try this. This is what you have to do to achieve it. So it's one of those things where you put out the offering, you put out the sacrifice, whatever it is, and then you walk away and let them decide. Because if you push, you might get the position, but you're going to have to deal with some other stuff first. So our third place line, where are we at? Faced by rock-like difficulties and with naught to lean upon but a thistle and briar, he enters his dwelling but could not find his wife Misfortune. So, not finding your spouse, not finding your support system, because that's what they're talking about here. That's a misfortune. But you're facing rock-like difficulties, rock in a hard place. And where are you going to go? Because on one side you got that wall that you just can't seem to get past, but the other side is thistles and briars. So you either are stuck and can't move, or you have to deal with the struggles and the trials. You have to go through this. And that's what they're saying here. Even when you get home, your spouse isn't there, your support system isn't there, because this is a challenge. How are you going to navigate this? So Earth, even though it feels like this is a little bit of a heavy reading, and it is, we're not going to lie here, the energy that's coming through is not that nice, but what it's saying is this is not about getting rainbows and butterflies and unicorn farts. This is about, are you ready for the next set? Have you tested your mettle? Are you sure? And it's not saying good, bad, and different. If you choose that maybe I'm not quite ready for that, then step back, figure out what you need to learn to grow to this next point. But they're saying this is that period just before you plateau at the next level. So you're approaching the top, and now you have to make sure you can climb over it to get into this next part of life. And that's what they're saying. It's not so much that you're failed. This is one of those trials where you get to find out if you're actually on the right journey for where you're at in your soul. You'll get there eventually. Don't worry about that part. It's just how are you going to get there? Your fourth place line, a slow arrival, trouble in a golden carriage, shame not for long. Well, there's a note here by trouble in a golden carriage. So is this some trouble in a golden carriage? Suggests that you get into a difficulty through our presumption or through placing too much confidence in someone of a higher station than yourself. So, slow arrival. You're going to get there, Earth, whatever it is that you're working towards. You're going to achieve it. The trouble in a golden carriage, like it said in line 2, the vermilion sash-wearing person, the person of high rank. So this person could be the one that's coming in to cause some chaos here. That's where you don't want to advance too quickly, because that's the misfortune. That's what line 4 is your misfortune. And that's where that shame comes in. Like, you thought you had it, and then when actually put in the position or challenged on the position or whatever that particular challenge is, you discover that you don't have it as much as you thought. That's where that shame comes in, like, I can't believe I just did that. I know better. And you did, but your ego got in the way. And that's where they're saying, make sure that you're not pushing this. Get in the flow state, offer what's ready to be offered, and allow the universe to fill in the blanks, because if not, could be a little uncomfortable for a minute. Your 5th place line: his nose and feet are chopped off owing to difficulties with the vermilion sash wearer, the man of high rank. But joy comes in time. It is advisable to offer sacrifice. This is where you have to sacrifice the ego. You're never going to kill the ego. People who say that really don't understand the ego, because the ego is an aspect of self. Just like the shadow is, just like the higher self, you're not going to kill that. That's not a good thing. But what this is really saying is your nose and feet are chopped off owing to the difficulties with this other person. It's shameful to have your nose taken off. It's going to trip you up if you don't have feet. So by pushing and challenging, and I'm going to do this way, and in line 2 it talks about difficulties through indulgence of food and drink, or pushing, advancing brings misfortune, sorry. That's where the issues arise. So it's saying get into that flow state, offer what's ready to be offered. When they say sacrifice the ego, because in the 4th line it talks about shame but not for long. The shame comes from the ego's pride being bruised, and that's something, maybe you need to sacrifice that. Maybe it's not worth that headache. Maybe it's just better to accept what happens. Maybe I'm not ready for this position, maybe I am, but there's obviously I need to work on some things. So when you sacrifice that prideful ego, the doors start to open up again. So let's see how this wraps up for the I-ching portion. Our capstone here, top line: entangled with creepers and tottering uneasily, he voices his regret for these actions. Provided the regret is felt, to advance now will bring good fortune. So if you happen to go down the path of the challenges versus the easier path of flow state this month, Earth, you're going to run into some brambles. You're going to have some briars. Your ego might get a little bruised. But as long as you learn the lesson, regret is felt. You learn the lesson. Everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to. And that's the best energy that can come in, is there's 2 paths ahead of you. There's a fork in the road coming, like it says in line 2. In one side, getting into that flow state, making your offerings, sacrificing the need to prove yourself, and things will go that direction. If not, that's where things kind of fall off a cliff. And that's where you have a little more brambles and briars. You have to go through a little bit more of a headache. So, Earth, there's definitely 2 paths open to you in this month of October. Which one are you going to choose? So let's take a peek at October through the weeks with the cards. There's about 5 weeks in October, so we'll pull 5 sets. For each week, we look at a guide or guardian. We look at a message from source, which is more of a positive affirmation, some supporting energy, and then we get a little more clarity from the tarot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, feelings, and opinions. Also, if you see something different in the cards or even in the I-ching, feel free to drop that down below. What I'm getting is what my guides bring through. So if you have a different intuitive guidance, it's always beneficial to share those things, because you never know who you might help. So your first guide or guardian for this first week is the Deer. Trust in the support of the universe, with archangels Michael and the angels of faith. Deer are very interesting creatures. They're little herd creatures, and this is trusting in the support of the universe. The deer don't put up food for the winter. They might get fat, but I mean, we all have those moments. But they don't worry about things. They don't stress over them. And that's like the I-ching talks about, getting into more of a flow state and not putting our ego-based effort into it. Like you don't need to. And when you have Deer with Archangel Michael and the angels of faith coming forward, it's really saying you're protected and your guides are there to support you. The energy that comes along with faith is knowing that the divine has your back. You don't have to struggle with this stuff. And like it talks about with the I-ching, Earth, this is not really a time to be forceful. You're not having to bully your way through a situation. This is one of those things where you're just putting forth what you have accomplished and you're letting them make the decision. It's not calling every 5 minutes to be like, well, have you looked at my resume? Have you looked at my resume? Have you looked at my resume? They're really advising against that. You can do that, and it might work, but you're also going to end up with some challenges that you didn't foresee, where putting in the paperwork and walking back and just letting things move is going to be a much easier state. And with the deer, that's where you're trusting that universal path. You're trusting your intuitive guidance. And sometimes that guidance will point you the direction of the challenge because you're there, but there's something off just a little bit. And once you learn that, path clears again. So there's always something new to learn. Your message from Source is the Messenger card, Sirius energy, the constellation, bringing harmony and balance. This is saying that Source wants to offer you the help to move through this month. It wants to bring in balance so that it's not a struggle for you, so that you follow your intuition and your guidance. You have deer coming in as a guide and a guardian because the buck will definitely save a lot of things, but it will also guide you through the harsher times. So this messenger that's coming up is, well, that's interesting. They're showing me that it could be a friend of yours, someone who's kind of been through something similar already, and they're coming in to be like, oh yeah, I had a manager like that one time, and I did this instead of being more aggressive, and it worked out really well. And that's something to be aware of, is to pay attention to people who've been there, done that before, or even something similar, and take a little counsel with them and find out what happens. So your message from the tarot, a little clarity here hopefully, is the Page of Michael, truthful, perceptive, analytical, and blunt. That kind of sounds like Michael. An exciting new challenge, having what it takes to succeed, review contracts or documents thoroughly. Don't jump at the first offer. Read through it, figure out what they're actually offering. Make sure that you're ready for what the expectations are. Be upfront and honest with what you're saying. And you don't have to be blunt, but definitely be clear. And don't mince words is the other part of that. And with this energy that's coming forward right now, with Michael, you're not going to hide with illusions. Michael is the angel of fire and carries the sword of clarity, and he will cut through illusions. He will cut through cords. So you really want to make sure that you are in a very clear state. If you are offered a position because you put an application in for it, make sure you go through the fine details. Don't just assume, oh, it's because of all this. You might be getting tested in that way too. So you want to make sure you're covering your own path as well. So let's take a peek at your second week here for Earth in October of 2025. This is a fun deck, but sometimes it's a little less talkative than the others. We have the Ant, cooperative for the highest good of the community, with Archangel Praminilic. And Angel is not what I'm familiar with, but ants are very hardworking and they tend to work as teams. They like to show the path to others. So this could be one of those things where you get put into a mentorship position. The ant could be mentoring you as well, saying, yeah, you have the skills, but do you have the management ability? Or you have the management ability, but do you have the skills in the other departments? Or in the other part of the job? Do you know the bookkeeping, even though you know the floor work, whatever it is? So this is saying, bringing the group together, making sure that you can wire the people who need to be connected. Most of the time when you work in management, it's not that you know how to do every job. It's better if you do, so that at least you can guide the next group. But it's also, how can you build the proper teamwork? You weave a web of very good people, individuals who come together as a team. When the team comes together, beautiful things happen, and you'd be surprised how much more can get done. And that's what the ant is talking about, is you are in a really good spot, Earth, to start to project this. And in the second week, you're going to see the opportunities to set the ego aside, and how do you work together? You might be the leader, or you're working towards that position, but can you prove you can pull the team together, unify them to a set goal with each person in the best possible position for who they are? Something to think about in the second week. Your message from the source is the 7 Star Sisters, birthing creation and the tapestry of life, weaving, and expression. So you're really getting into this flow state in the second week, and this is where the universe is saying, just like in the second line of the I-ching, this is your fork in the road. The first week was telling you, check in with your faith. Are you ready to take the next steps? Intuitively, where is your heart leading you? And in the second week, the ant is coming forward to help you understand, these are your two options, which path. This path over here, where you're weaving everything together, really looks like it might be some work, but the reward is quicker. we'll put it that way. This one is saying, make sure that you're ready to weave the tapestry of your next steps, because it could be easy, but it's going to be rewarding. That's the thing that keeps coming up for you, Earth, and you're not, they keep showing really hardworking elves, or gnomes, because Earth's element is a gnome. They're not scared of hard work. They're scared of failure. And so they keep trying and experimenting and keep getting better. So there's this constant drive, and that's what's coming in with this energy is you have this urge to advance, but don't advance blindly. Advance with intelligence, taking pauses when necessary and letting things settle down after making a move. And it's just like if you're playing chess, you don't just rapid fire chess. Some people do. But you want to analyze what's happening, and that's what they're saying here. So your message from the tarot, hopefully some clarity, is the King of Gabriel, tapping into some emotions and water here. Generous, inspirational, dramatic, and driven. Keep your eyes on the big picture. Leave the details to others. Experiences that lead to success. Genuine concern for others. This is where, just because you're the one who's in the lead position, that doesn't mean you get to be bossy. That's what part of that energy. This is where you keep your eyes on the big picture. You're looking at how everything's coming together. The details, really good leaders don't really lead. It doesn't feel like they lead. They set people up for success and then walk away and watch what happens, hurting as necessary, but they do not actively micromanage every step. That's not a good leader. A good leader will figure out what your strengths are, point you in the right direction, and let you go. Leave the details to others. And this will lead you to that successful state. This is where one of those challenges comes in with checking your ego, because yes, you can advance. It's not going to work out as well as you would like it to, because that's that misfortune coming in. But if you let it go, get things started, put in the application, show them that you can work as a team, and watch how your team responds when you're more of an encouraging person and more of a, we're going to herd you in the right direction, but I'm not going to force you in the right direction. Things happen really interesting when you work that way. I've worked in management off and on for years, so you can be really pushy about it, or you can figure out what someone's strength is, encourage it, and then direct it. Walk away. The best managers manage least. So, in your third week, we have the Raven, preparing for a change, which is what your goal is this month anyway, it sounds like. And we have Archangel Azrael and the Archangel Bakpi. So you're really tapping into some high frequency energies here. The Raven also is a messenger. It brings forth things that you need to know. So in this third week, pay attention to the signs and synchronicities that are coming forward. Be willing to act on them is the other part. Just because, well, I could do that. Does it feel right? Well, no. Then don't do that. Well, there's this opportunity over here. Well, how do you feel about it? What's your instinct saying? I think I would be able to succeed there, but it might take a while. Is that what you're looking for? Like, pay attention to the signs. They will help guide you, and they're my guides are being funny today. They're saying you're going to get a lot of opportunities in this third week. Make sure you're picking the one that actually takes you to the gold and not the toilet. So, unless you need the toilet, that's a different story. But really pay attention to your signs this third week especially, because the I-ching talks about getting more tapped into things, and I feel that is the intuitive aspect of stuff, and base it all on that righteous persistence, that righteous path. If it goes against your morals or your ethics, your code of who you are, it is not the path for you. The true path, God, Source Divine, is not going to make you change that. Now, if your morals and ethics are a little bit on the wonky side, it may force you to shore them up, to prove them, figure out what you actually believe, which it could take some time. But that's more of a long-term thing. This week is about following the intuition and making sure that you're actually sticking to that. So your third week's message from Source is cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. This is where you're going to feel that failure if you took the wrong fork in the road. And if you didn't, it could just be the fact that you're going to have a revelation this week where you start to understand, oh, this is what I didn't understand about this path. Even if I took the higher path and things are going more smoothly, you still might run into this feeling of being opened up, where something has to be revealed. It could be the ego getting out of the way. It could be your shadow offering you the next diamond in the road, where you have to process the issue around it. Sometimes it's trauma, where then you can see the actual diamond in the rough. And those times can be a little bit uncomfortable. And they're saying that this is part of that time period. Like in the I-ching, it talks about there's a period where you're can't find your spouse, can't find your wife, between a rock and a hard spot. And so this could be that time where you feel alone as well, because you're starting to see things differently. It's changing you, which is good, but you might feel like you've lost your support system. I'll tell you a secret, you haven't. It's just a feeling. So just be aware of that. Your message from the tarot is the Knight of Ariel, trustworthy, understanding, devoted, and funny. There is so much to accomplish. Make a very detailed plan, being watched over by someone kind. So this is where you're guided, whether you realize it or not, because you're down here, you're playing in the flowers, you're doing the work, you're taking your time, you're understanding things, and you're not pushing. Because after you go through a period of being cracked open, where a revelation occurs or the ego gets a little slap on the hand, it can shift how you feel about yourself. And that's where this trustworthiness, the understanding comes in. That way you can actually process it and not make it negative for yourself. You can forgive yourself in the moment, which is a trick. But you can do this so that you feel better about who you are as you move forward. And it's not saying it's going to be a long-term thing. Even the I-ching said it was a minor inconvenience, but it was more of a take the wrong road. It's going to be you're going to have some shame, but overall you're still going to come out on top. You just might be a bit more humble than you were before. If you take the right road, you're holding on to that humility as you're moving forward, which makes things a lot easier. So, sorry, this made me laugh. Your fourth week's guide is the donkey, keeping your heart open no matter what. And I love that because donkeys can be the sweetest things or the biggest headache. Archangels Mary and Archangels Gabriel. It's not really an angel. Mary is the mother of Jesus, so Mother Mary. And what we're saying with this heart, keeping your heart open, stay attuned to source. Even if you go through that shamed period, even if you go through those struggles and those trials, keep your heart, your intuition, your connection to God's source divine open. Feel the compassion for others. Tap into that gentleness. Even when it feels like you're being crushed under a mountain, hold on to those gentle feelings. You don't have to fight. You don't have to wrestle with this. If you're connected in and you're really feeling things from the heart, it's going to be a challenge, especially that one path, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a destruction. It's a revelation. It's a peeling away of something that may have been in the way in the first place. That ego might just need to be put back on the leash and been like, listen, we don't act like that out here. So that's the energy that's coming up with this one, with your donkey energy, is it's not necessary to harden your soul to move forward. That's really actually going to work counterintuitively. It's remembering to be as fluid as water. Work with the emotional side of things as well, and really pay attention to your intuition. So your message from Source is the cosmic heart, devotion, potency, and making your life a moving prayer. When you really open your heart and you step into that energy like the donkey with Mother Mary and Archangel Gabriel, you start to understand that you're listening to the heartbeat of the cosmic heart, the heart of the universe, the heart of the creator of everything. You might even hear the heart of Gaia, she who is under your feet, the planet itself. When you do that, everything that you start to process goes through a prayer-like motion. Your gratitude, your urge to praise the divine. Sometimes it's just within your soul. I have a friend of mine, short story here, who it does not matter what is going on in her life, she is singing praises to God in her religion. She's a different religion than what I was raised in, but she's always in this happy state. It does not matter what's going on. She is singing. She is praising divinity. And even when the chaos goes on, she comes out on the other side of it. She might have to, go through some stuff. Even with tears, she's always in that state. And it's really inspiring to see. And that's this energy that's coming up for you in this fourth week is no matter what goes on, don't let it harden your soul. Don't let it block you off from your divine connection. That is literally the most important thing in your life. And if your divine connection stays strong, everything else is just going to fall into place. It might be a little bumpy along the way, but it will fall into place. So, your message from the tarot is number 16 in the traditional tarot. This is what I think would be the devil. Change your life with Archangel Kamael, a sudden revelation that offers freedom, breaking free from procrastination, and embracing the opportunities that bring change. It's either the change, it's either the devil or the death card, whichever. But what we're getting with this is a time for revealing truth. Just like with the I-ching, by the end of everything, you see things differently. Things have changed. Success might be right there, and you may have stepped into it. I mean, obviously, you've achieved the city. And this is where you're going. This is how far you can grow this month. Now, is it saying that's for everybody? Your success is where you measure it. And your challenges are going to be what you can work through this month. And they're not saying anything negative with that. They're really just saying, are you ready to shift your life? This month has been a preparatory month. We still have one more week to go. But by the 4th week, you're going to understand the changes that have occurred. Maybe how many more need to happen for everything to fall into place for this particular goal, or at least this branch of the goal. But are you ready for the next steps? Just like with the I-ching, when I mentioned, the universe is not saying you can't have this. It's saying, are you ready for it? And now in this 4th week, making sure you're staying in that flow state, you can see, am I ready for this step, or do I need a little bit more work? Your last week is the owl. Listen to the message of the angels with Archangel Bakpi. That's a hard name to say. Owls are wisdom bearers. They can teach you so many things. And when the owl shows up in readings or in intuition or in prayer, it can be a messenger from the outworld. In a lot of ways, you look at those as angels. So this is not this 5th week. Pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention to the divine inspiration that comes through. This is a week where you really do start to see the changes play out. You may have to take a couple of steps one way or another to make things really settle in, but the owl is there to show you the wisdom of those paths. The owl is coming in to bring the message from God Source Divine saying, well done. Or, you're almost there, here's some things to work on. Whichever path you've taken, that's the energy that's coming up. The owl is such a wise, powerful energy of training and of knowledge. Use that guidance in this 5th week wisely. And that's the most important part of that message. Your message from the source is Star Brothers, Horus energy, more knowledge and wisdom, protection, loyalty, safety, and trust. Now you have hawks involved. So you're really stepping into this place where you have succeeded, you have earned your stripes, so to speak, and you're able to start moving forward again quickly. The Star Brothers are coming in to guide you. And it's interesting that you have the star and the moon basically coming in here together, because the owl is more associated with the lunar, or the Star Brethren with the hawks. So you really are in a process of knowledge, growth, and motion. And it's using so much more of the unconscious mind. Moon and stars at night, you don't really see them in the daytime. So you're working more intuitively, you're following your inner guidance, and your connection to God's Source Divine is actually really strong by the end of this month. I mean, it's probably strong now, but you're going to notice it increases by the end of the month. Your message from the tarot is the 5 of Michael. Situation doesn't serve you, releasing attachment to other outcomes, considering taking an uplifting approach. If you took the higher path, the path of righteous persistence, and you chose not to be pushy this month towards the goals, then this card is really irrelevant. It's saying that you've already cast off that which does not serve. If you tripped and stumbled along this month, the universe is saying now you understand what you needed to let go of. Michael is here to help you remove that which no longer serves. So in this last week, that's following your intuitive guidance and really stepping into that better place that you were searching for. Again, Earth, this is a general reading, but the energy that's coming in is so powerful in the fact that you have 2 choices this month. You always have choices. This month, they're really pointing out 2 paths. One, setting the ego aside and things going fairly smoothly. The other one is being a little more pushy about things in whatever capacity, and then there's going to be some lessons to learn along the way. But by the end of the month, you will be in a different mindset. You will be in a different position. Stuff is going to shift. You're going to end up success either way. It's just which direction are you going? Are you going to go down the nice smooth choice, or are you going to run headlong into the wall and have to crawl along the briars for a minute? You'll still come out on the other side, just might be a little more bruised. So with that, I will let you guys and gals go. Have a great month of October. This reading's a little rough, I know, but it's worth getting a heads up on what's coming, right? So we'll see you in the next video.